如果你领着20万美金的年薪，你在麦肯锡这种全球顶尖的公司工作，你会辞职吗？今天呢，我访谈的来宾叫做 Paul Miller， 他不止真的辞职了，他还写出了一本畅销书，叫做《无路之路》。他要告诉我们说，为什么追求成功的预设道路可能是一场骗局，而且我们要如何透过做实验的方式来找到你自己的路。那今天这一集呢，我是邀请到作者 Paul Miller 本人，然后我们会用全英文的对谈。那接下来我们就来全英文的访谈咯。Okay, Paul, I just introduced you in Chinese. So I'm deeply honored to welcome you. Could you please say hello in Chinese to our audience?
你好，我是米保罗，我住在台湾。
That's cool because I just heard you live in Taiwan and in Taipei. So yeah, that's cool. And I know you were a consultant at McKinsey and BCG.But in 2017, you choose to leave your corporate world and start your experiment. So now you are a freelancer, you are author, you are a digital nomad. And I just wondered why you give this book this title, The Pathless Path. What is Pathless Path?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, early in my career, I very much followed what I now call the default path, which is what is seen as successful. And then I would sort of figure that out and do whatever possible to get the best grade, get into the best companies and figuring that out. But every time I did that, I just kept wanting to quit, move to the next job, start a new experiment, things like that. And eventually I sort of burned out from my job, quit my job in 2017, and it was pretty challenging at first because I didn't know what I was going to do. But at the same time, I had this sense that I needed to do the opposite of everything I did in my 20s. And so about a year after quitting my job, my friend Johnny gave me a book called The Three Marriages by David White. And in that book, he mentioned the phrase, the pathless path. And it said, like, when you first encounter the phrase, the pathless path, you're not supposed to know what it means.
Yes.
But for me at that moment, it was like, oh my gosh, it hit me like a lightning bolt. It was like, this is exactly the description of how I feel right now. I feel completely lost. I can't convince anyone I know what I'm doing. I don't have any clear way of making money consistently, but I feel like I am in the right place in my life for the first time. And that feeling was so profound. It was this tension of like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but this is the exact right way to be going. I kept writing about that phrase. I kept talking about it, and it sort of became a mantra of like me and my now wife. And it became the title of the book as well.
Because I love a song. The song title is Road Untraveled. And I just connect with this book, like Road Untraveled and the Pathless Path. So when I'm reading your book, I think I can 100% resonate with your story because I think I am the Taiwan version of Pathless Path because I also left a corporate world and to start this kind of like a freelance or author, podcaster, YouTuber. So I think I can 100% get what you mean in this phrase, pathless path. So I want to ask one more question because in your book, you mentioned this is more about quitting a job because people would think, oh, I just quit my job, so I go on a pathless path. But you said it's more than quitting a job. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so it's funny. The book came out in Taiwan last year. I've talked to many people in Taiwan and other countries around the world over the past many years. Some people ask me the question now, how do I do a pathless path really well? And it's like you're missing the point. There's no like there's no like winning formula. There's no grade. You can't get an A in class. It's more of like shifting away from that mindset toward embracing uncertainty. And so you might say something like, I know where I'm going, but I have no idea how to get there. And it's embracing this sense of it's okay to be lost. A lot of how we think about adulthood and careers and work is all just storytelling. Even if somebody is a doctor and they think they have the next 30 years of their life laid out, the reality, especially now, is that that's not true. Even if you're a doctor working in a healthcare system now, your job will be fundamentally different 10 years from now, even if your job title stays the same. And so often what people are clinging to is the story that says, I am safe if I am doing this thing. And the interesting thing for me is I felt very, very unsettled on my previous path, even though the money was more predictable and the story was one of like, oh, he's got it figured out. Now I feel way more stable because I have 9 years experience spending my days in ways that make me feel good. I know I can keep doing it because I enjoy the things I'm doing. And that gives me a sense of stability, connectedness to myself, connectedness to others in the world. And the financial uncertainty, yeah, it's scary. But for me now, it's just the cost to pay that's worth it for this sort of path that feels good. And so a lot of what I am saying is like, don't quit your job, but like question the story you have around your job.
But what is something that strike you when you are still in McKinsey or in BCG, because you have a very like a stable, like a predictable income? What exactly strike you to make you think that, wow, this is not what I want? Maybe I know I want something else. What is the point?
I think for me, money was never a big motivator in the sense of I didn't go into consulting to make a lot of money. The fact is, if you like consulting and you're good at consulting, if you really cared about money, you would just work in finance because you can make a lot more money doing very similar type of work. I went into consulting because I loved the idea of learning new things, new projects, being challenged, pushed, and that was mostly true, enjoyable. I think early on, you're definitely motivated for like those first promotions, the pay raises. But after a certain point, I'm a very simple person. I don't need fancy things in my life. I never was the kind of person that's like, I need a nice car, I need to own my own apartment. And so once my like needs were met, I just wanted actually more time back. I didn't want more stuff. And so that was a big driver for me. It's always been toward like freedom. People will say, oh, Paul, you're so frugal. You're so good at saving money. But the reality is I'm very greedy.
How do you say that?
I just want time. I want so much time. I don't want stuff.
Yeah.
But for some reason, we look at like, oh, that person has such an expensive life. Of course they have to keep working. Nobody's like, oh, of course that person just likes a lot of time. They look at that as weird, but it's not really that weird.
I agree. Yeah. I really love this idea to be greedy about time, not to be greedy about money.
I want so much of it.
Sounds so sexy.
Now I have a 3-year-old, and our life is crazy some days. Some days it's like chaotic, no sleep, grumpy baby. But if I have time and I can be flexible, it makes it so much better. I can like take a rest in the middle of the day. I can spend time with her. I can do all sorts of different things. And it gives me that like slack in life that enables my work to fit in that life rather than saying, here's a ton of work. I need this. I need to keep accumulating more. How do I design a life around that? That was always stressful for me. And so I don't want to change people's minds. I don't want a lot of people to quit their jobs. But for people like you and me who are like these weirdos who like must do interesting creative work and like we don't even care if we make money from that all the time, like it's about those people. How do we then take a step back and then design a life, reframe our thinking around that sort of approach?
Yeah. I love that because when I read your book and now I'm talking to you, I think I'm talking to myself in the parallel universe. Like that, I think.
I love it.
Yeah. So
you're my Taiwanese clone.
Doppelganger.
Yeah. What was the driver for you? Was it similar around time?
I think yes. I think I prioritize autonomy.
Yeah.
Like I can control my pace. I can manage my time. I can talk with and work with people that I care, that I want to talk to. So yeah, I don't want to waste time sitting there and go through a meeting and maybe 10 meetings per day. And oh my God, I cannot live with that. So I quit. That's
same.
Yeah. And another question is people around me or maybe around you that I feel that many people feel they are falling behind or they may be comparing to the others. So how do you deal with this kind of comparison or falling behind mindset and that you can start your journey?
So I've fallen behind everyone. And so it's great. Like I went to one of the best business schools in the US, and almost everyone I graduated with is making more money and is more successful on traditional metrics than me now. Like these people are partners at consulting firms, vice presidents at companies, making crazy amounts of money. I am like the poorest business school classmate. But at the end of the day, like you have one life to live. And so it just got to the point where it's like, okay, I either need to live life on my terms or I need to keep playing these games. And so your own like connection to yourself and happiness is ideally something you want to actually take serious. And it's hard to pay attention to that in your 20s. It feels like there's so much to do. But weirdly, I felt like I was in a rush in my 20s and in my 30s and now in my 40s, I actually feel like I can slow down a little more and I'm in less of a rush. Mostly because I know the kind of work I enjoy and like doing now. So once you find the work you want to do, there's no rush to get to the next step. It's just how do you keep living the life you want to live?
So I love the idea that I'm falling behind, but I feel fine. I feel so good about that. But I wondered, how can you have this kind of mindset? Because like in Taiwan,
it's hard.
Especially our parents, they talk to us like, you have to take a lead in the start line, in the start point. You cannot fall behind from the start. So everyone wants to keep ahead, want to grinding. So how can you be so stable or so calm inside that you feel like, well, I have my own path and others, I don't care. How can you have that mindset?
I think after I quit my job, I knew I didn't want to go back. And honestly, it just takes time. You have to learn to trust yourself. You also need some evidence that you're not going to go broke or end up homeless. And so I've at least broken even most of the years financially, like maybe a little less some years. And so it's 9 years now and it's working. I'm also humble enough to know, okay, this strategy for life may not work in the next few years. But as long as I have some buffer financially, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing things that are interesting and fun. That's pretty much it. I think temperament-wise, I probably worry less about what other people are doing, and that makes it a lot easier. But I see my classmates getting promotions and stuff, and I know how much they make, and I do think, wow, that would make my life easier. But then I'd also have to play out, okay, I would have spent many more years on that kind of path. That would have been very bad for me. I would have become a person I wasn't happy with, and I would be very dissatisfied. And that's just very hard to think about. And the other side of this is as soon as I quit my job and started going after things I actually cared about, then met my wife, I fell in love with writing. And so I found so many good things after quitting, but I didn't know I would find any of that. You sort of just have to go and see what you find.
But on this path, on this pathless path, I think it could be quite lonely because I don't know if you have someone to talk to or you have some mastermind group. How did it back you up to help you to go forward? I ask this question because a lot of people also asked me because they want to go on this path, they want to try something new, but they feel they are so alone and yeah, they have no one to ask and no one to lead. Have you ever met this kind of situation and how do you deal with it?
I felt very lonely in my first year. And because most of my friends were still working during the day and I had now this freedom and weird life, it was 2017. The online creator economy just wasn't what it is now. And so I'd go to meetups, I'd connect with people online. I created an open calendar event every week on my calendar where people could book calls with me if they found my writing online. And slowly I started to meet people. One of the primary goals I realized early on was I actually didn't need to solve for money as the primary goal. The primary goal was to find the others. Because if I could find other people on similar paths like me, that would give me the confidence to keep going. And this is something I think people don't actually put enough time into. Like they're like, I'm quitting, going on my own. I'm going to lock myself in a room and come up with ideas. It's like, no, maybe do that a few days a week, but then like go spend a day and like meet up with a bunch of people. Go to a co-working meetup. Like in Taipei, like our friend runs Cola Play. It's a great place to meet people who are on weird paths. And finding those hubs, it's so great because when you have people you don't need to explain yourself to, you start to feel more confident about yourself. Yeah. And I met 3 or 4 of those people in the first year, and I can't tell you how important those people were to my journey. Because it was my friend Nita or my friend Steven or my friend Johnny. And I didn't understand their past, but I wanted them to succeed. And just the fact that they kept going, it made me want to keep going too. And then also, I think one of my biggest advantages is I met my wife and she's also like a writer now too. So like, she has her book and she's been on a weird pathless path. And so every day I'm home where I sort of like have someone exactly like me. So it's very helpful. So I highly recommend marrying someone on a pathless path as well.
That was cool. I think you're a lucky guy.
I am very lucky. But I think there was also, I felt like a failure dating for years before I met her. And the problem was I was living the life of like a successful corporate worker. And so I was attracting people that want a successful corporate worker life. Yeah. As soon as I quit my job and stopped making money, I started attracting way different people, but like way better matches for me.
Yes.
And so I think that was so huge. People will say things like, oh, I don't want to quit my job. Like, who's going to date someone who's like,
don't have a job,
doesn't have a plan? It's like, well, that might be better. You might attract different and better people.
Yeah. I think that you mentioned this point is very good because we still have to interact. We still have to talk to someone to have some interaction because we are a social animal, right? So we don't just keep our head down and just grinding and for another success. I think that would be a little pointless. Yeah. So thank you for mentioning this like a social connection thing. I think that's quite important.
How has it been for you? Do you notice similar things after quitting?
Yeah, because I like to share about book. I like to talk about books. So I joined several like book club. So many of my friends, they are in a different book club. We also host a book club after that. So I think I meet a lot of people who are book lovers like me. So I think the companion, the friends, the social support is so important. I have a project right now. I am building a paid membership that's a very close, like 100 people. in a very small community. And I think, wow, that's the driven power that kept me forward. So I think the connection between people is so important and is underrated for many discussions like that.
Yeah, definitely. And still on our kind of path, people still look at the extrinsic success. And that is important. But when you're on your own path, you actually have infinite options of things you could do, which is incredibly overwhelming. But the upside is you also have to just constantly prioritize and eventually figure out how to do things you actually care about. Whereas in a job, you can actually do stuff for years that you don't care about just because other people make you do it. So I'm like you, like part of like my life, I want to be able to read a couple hours every day. Like I just love reading. And I used to read in the office. Like I used to even read business books and people would be like, what are you doing? Why are you reading? I'm like, I'm learning. Like, aren't we supposed to be learning and like absorbing knowledge? And so you'd think a company would love that. But yeah, they just want you to stare at a computer, even if you're scrolling LinkedIn.
Yeah. From the story we just mentioned, that I think we need a bit more courage, right? You need the courage to be yourself, to be on the path. But in the book, you mentioned one phrase, you call it experiment. You say we have to do many experiments, or maybe we can treat our life as experiments. So what is your point? What is your opinion on this?
Yeah, I sort of see life as a continued series of experiments. I think this is counter to how most people think about adulthood and life, especially when you start a family or start having kids. A lot of people just want to have life figured out once and for all. It's like once and for all, we have the place and we're set. I think the way me and my wife approach life is like everything is an experiment. Even if we're going to live somewhere for a year, that year is an experiment. And so the goal of everything we do is to ask questions. What can we learn from this experience? Or what did we learn from this experience? And given those outcomes, like what do we do next? What is different? And there's way more freedom in the world to constantly change your path, change your life. You can move to a different side of town. You can move to a different country. It's becoming a lot more common in Taiwan, I think. I mean, there's so many people embracing like digital nomad lifestyles. People are realizing it's actually a lot cheaper to live in places where you can fly an hour away from Taiwan. And you can go for 2 weeks on vacation, or even like during your job, you can just work remotely and then just ask yourself, do I want to do more? Do I want to do less? And things like that. For the last year, we've been nomadic with our daughter. Our daughter is 3 now. And the question for us is, what does life with 2 location-independent parents look like in today's world? How can we thrive given some of the increased freedom we have? And so we've been doing that for a little over a year. And one of our like realizations, especially as our daughter got a little older, it actually would be great for us to get a little more help with childcare at this point. Because both of us were like not working enough, especially me after the last year, because my wife had been working on her book and I've been doing a lot of childcare. And so, yeah, we're going to do that. And then we're having another kid. That's another experiment. And we're figuring it out as we go. But there's no story in my head that I have to figure it out once and for all. And I think that makes it easier because we're from 2 different countries, me and my wife. We have weird jobs. We're both creators, writers. It's actually fine. We can just keep continuing to experiment and try new things and see where it takes us.
I think you can create your lifestyle. You can create everything you want because, we are creative people. So, we should create.
That's the fun of it. I think some people don't enjoy that. They do just want to own an apartment once and for all. They want to know exactly how many kids they're going to have, and they want to know what schools they send them to for 20 years. And they want to just not think about anything. I love thinking about it. That's why I write a book about thinking about it, and a second book thinking about it even more. I'll probably write a third book thinking about it even more. And so, yeah, it's very fun for me. It's cool because I can then share a lot of how I approach it, and people seem to resonate with it too.
Yeah, you can attract people, you can influence people like-minded. I have another question is that in the default path or in a big company, maybe the success equal promotion, salary, bonus. In your pathless path, how do you define success, or this word even exist?
One is the question of, am I financially viable, right? Am I going to go to $0 on this path? And so I now do a quarterly check-in where I check in, okay, what's my savings? How much income am I earning? Given that, how many months could I keep going if things got worse? Or if things got better, how would that affect how long I could keep going on this path? I think 2 is just a connection to your body. I think one thing at 32 years old, after quitting my job, I was sort of like, oh, I have a body, I have feelings, I have emotions. I sort of lost connection to myself in living this path for other people and other people's goals. You sort of learn to dismiss your own drives, your own curiosity, your own motivation. And so a lot of it for me is time with myself. Writing really helps me reflect and figure out what's going on. Journaling, meditation, long walks, long bike rides. I think that's where sort of the processing happens for me. And yeah, it's sort of just this never-ending contemplation, which again sounds exhausting for some people or really fun for others.
Yeah. And because you live in many places, right? Not only Taiwan. I see on your Instagram you travel to around the world. So do you think the traveling is associated with like pathless path? Open your world, open your view. What does travel means to you?
I think for me, there's something about being in a different place, which does expand my mind, puts me in uncomfortable situations, forces me to grow, forces me to be aware of my needs and preferences, desires that I really haven't found in other modes of practice. I think for some people that's not fun or not enjoyable. I think people who travel a lot and live in different places sort of get it similarly. My wife grew up traveling a lot. Her family didn't have a ton of money in Taiwan, but they always used all their money to go travel all over Asia and all over the world. And so I think that's part of like her family's background, and she sort of has that as well. It's really just this curiosity. I mean, I love going to a new place and figuring things out in the first week. Learning how to say local phrases, learning how the supermarket works, learning about new foods, learning how to order. And the cool thing, I mean, living in Taiwan, I still get to experience that too. I definitely speak like solid Chinese for like ordering, getting around. I can like understand what's going on, but I'm never going to be fully Taiwanese. There's always learning, always new norms, always new cultural stuff. Yeah, it just challenges me and brings out different sides of me. I love it.
Do you go with like a traveling group, or you just self-help? You just do everything by your own?
It's varied. We have gone with friends to places. We typically will go to a place for a month to 3 months. Right now, we're participating in a much bigger experiment called the Traveling Village. It's 20 families over 5 months. We're traveling together. We're all in Hualien right now, 20 families, 80 people. We started in Vietnam in January, and then we're going to Korea in May, or in April in a couple weeks. It's been a crazy experiment. And it's pretty cool to be with a lot of other people. It's also much more challenging with a lot of other families, because when you don't have kids, hanging out with other people is way easier. When you have kids, you're constantly meeting the needs of your kids first and then doing the other stuff. But it's been great.
Is it still available for people, for our audience to join? Because I think some people just want to join that.
Travelingbillage.com. There's also, I think, there's many alternatives. It's run by a Danish guy. They're hosting a month-long pop-up in France in the fall. And then next year, I think they have a 2-month camper van trip throughout Europe. And yeah, people can just apply and join these things.
Yeah.
And I think they're becoming a lot more popular, and you'll see people self-organize these as well. I want to organize trips in the future as well. Maybe not 20 families, but like a month here, a month there. Things like that.
Because I saw your Instagram, I saw, what is Travel Village? What is that? Okay, now I understand.
You could do the traveling readers. You could take your 100 people and you could just go read in different countries.
Yeah, wow.
See,
good idea.
Here we go. New business
I'll keep
idea.
it down.
Drop a comment if you're in.
Yeah, drop a comment. Okay, so we already talked about your book, and another topic I'm very interested in because you are creating a new online course and for strategic thinking. So I'm just curious that from Pathless Path to now you're creating a strategic thinking. What is this course about and who is it for?
Yeah, so my background is a strategy consultant. One of the things I loved doing while at those firms was the actual work. I loved doing the core work. And then as I progressed in my career, I loved teaching and coaching other people how to like create great slides, how to like structure ideas, synthesize problem statements and things like that. And this has been, I've almost had like 2 threads since I quit my job. I started doing the consulting course in 2018. I created it online, basically because I had met my wife in Taiwan and I was like, oh shit, I need to make money. I'm going to try to take some of the trainings I've done and put it online and see if it will sell. It started selling, and then I kept iterating and building on it over the years. I work with companies, I work with executives, I work with students from all around the world. And so we're really just repackaging it for like more local Taiwan. We're also adding some AI content. I've been playing with like skills you could use to apply this stuff. The thing about my path is I loved consulting because I love making sense of ideas. That's exactly what I do in my books too. I take a lot of ideas, I synthesize it, and I make sense of it, and I tell it in an interesting way. That is the same kind of work you can do in like a big company. And so most people in their jobs are just doing tasks. Oh, I need to do the work to please my boss. At McKinsey and BCG, I learned a fundamentally different way of working, which was much more organic and like following a process of like, how do you really define what you're working on, synthesize ideas, package them, structure them, iterate, and do all these things to like create ideas in a compelling way. And so those 2 threads have been like the same. Writing is like the more fun expression of that for me, but honestly the way I write is the same way I would like structure ideas before putting them into PowerPoint, which sort of sounds crazy, but anyone who sort of understands how synthesis is done, like that's sort of what I teach.
I want to share my personal opinion because I have some friends, and right now I'm talking with you. Some of my friends, they are from the consultant company like McKinsey, even BCG.
Nice.
I think all of them are very organized. They talk fluently and they explain ideas clearly, and they can synthesize information in a very beautiful way. So that's my personal experience, like talking with the people who worked in a consultant company. So I'm very curious that what makes you become someone like that? What skill you have learned from the consulting company? Because I gradually think that this could be fundamental skill for everyone. If everyone got this kind of skill, like how can we talk? How can we work more efficient, more clear? So what is the skill that you learned from the consultant company?
Well, this was my experience. I worked at GE before working at McKinsey, and I worked for this boss that just wanted things in the right format. Oh, you got to change the font size is wrong. You're not using the correct GE font. And then I worked at McKinsey, and I send a document to my manager, and he sends back high-level feedback in like 5 minutes. And he's like, looks great, keep churning on it. And so we just keep iterating and over and over again, and you keep improving things. And they never say anything about like the spelling or the font size, because the focus is on the story, the ideas, the packaging, the synthesis. And so you learn this process over and over again to process information. And so one way to talk about this is what I call book report thinking. You're trying to write a long paper to prove you read the book, right? In school, you write a 5-page paper showing that, oh, I read the whole book and I understood it. That literally doesn't matter in the workforce. But people will create like 25-page PowerPoint slides or really long emails trying to prove to their boss, hey, look how much work I did. Worthless. It doesn't matter. Like if you're in a company, all you need to know is what matters, what do I do about it, and when. Right? So, I mean, some bosses are not great and they just want to make sure their employees are always suffering or putting in crazy hours of work. Many people do eventually quit and do their own thing too.
Yeah.
But if you're an effective boss, you don't care how much work they did. All you want to know is like, what is the key idea? I call it the so what. The so what is the takeaway, right? Think of the other person as just sitting there and saying, so what? So what? So what? And so you want to process ideas until you can answer that question.
What is the top skills? Could you give us some example? What are the top skills or some framework that you've learned in McKinsey or BCG that every one of us can apply or can learn from?
Yeah, so the most popular one talked about a lot is the pyramid principle. The pyramid principle is one many people have heard about or read about at a high level, but have absolutely no idea how to apply it. And so I try to actually break it up into 2 different things. It's much easier to understand and you can actually apply it and practice it. So part 1 of the pyramid principle is like, take a bunch of ideas. Then you sort them by different groups. And then for each of those groups, you get to an insight. The insight is your judgment. Your judgment saying the so what about that group, right? So for example, you could have information about like cities in Taiwan. You could have Taichung has great bubble tea. Taipei has great Luro fun. Tainan has great ancient or more historical foods. Then that's just your information layer. The higher level judgment is a higher level of abstraction. So you're using your judgment, you're simplifying while also keeping all the core point of those underlying ideas. And you could make the judgment of Taiwan has amazing food. Now, you don't have all the information. You don't know what's in Chiayi or Kaohsiung or Hualien or Taidong. And so maybe you would, if you were like doing research, you would say, well, we can't make that claim yet. We want to go do more research. But you might say, well, I'm going to make that claim. And then if you're presenting to somebody, you would then start with the insight. And so that's the second part of the pyramid principle. It's like you process your ideas, you get to the key idea, simple, profound, direct, and a claim you feel you can back up. And then you start with that. So then somebody will ask, well, what should I know about Taiwan? Taiwan has great food. Here's why. Taichung, da-da-da-da-da. Taipei, da-da-da-da-da. And then you're backing it up with the supporting evidence, right? And so people who are naturally good at synthesis do tend to just figure this out. Like if you're writing a blog article, for example, often the headline or like a headline of a section, that's where you want the insight. Each section header should be like telling people what they should think. And consulting really is this dance of like analyzing information and then matching it to somebody's worldview. So a client has their worldview of how the world operates and runs, and you as a consultant have all this information, and you might be trying to convince them of a new direction. And so you need to map your insight. Here's what I really believe. Here's what the data says to their worldview. And so basically that's what I teach is like, okay, how do you process information? Then how do you match it to people's worldviews such that it's persuasive and actionable?
I want to raise another challenge because right now the AI software is so powerful, the AI technology, that I've read some articles about like McKinsey. They say they are also challenged by AI because AI could take a lot of synthesis work. Yeah, so if AI is so good at synthesizing and organizing information, what is the value, or how can we human to have this skill to be more upgraded, or how do we survive in this AI era?
Yeah, I think these are open questions. It's very, very bizarre to play with these tools. And I don't have a job anymore, so I'm not worried about losing a job. But it is very, very bizarre to do stuff in Claude Code that used to take me several hours.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so it's really interesting how attached we are to certain kinds of work. But I think it's making me realize that, well, maybe some of these things just aren't that special or important. So if you zoom out long enough, work is constantly changing and a lot of work is evaporating to technology.
Yes.
An accountant in 1980 sat at a desk doing numbers by hand.
Yeah.
And they probably spent 40 hours doing a task that somebody could do just on Excel in an hour in 2020. Now, what happened to the 39 new hours of work that person is doing? And so that's constantly happening. I think with AI, though, it's happening much faster and it's making us very uncomfortable. But I've been playing with AI quite a bit. I think there's still tremendous value to learning how to do these things, because if you understand how to synthesize, you can look at the synthesis that an AI is doing and say, that's not very good. From what I've seen, it's, especially if it's very data heavy, it can do almost as good as the best people at data analysis and insights. But when it gets to like more qualitative, fluffy stuff, I'd say it's better than 80% of people, but it's still like not that great. So I think most people's skill levels are going to need to rise, which means they're going to need to understand how to like challenge.
Yes.
So like you can think of AI as like a sparring partner, which is great because one of the biggest challenges I had for my course is I couldn't give everyone constant feedback. But now with AI, like I actually set my stuff up so there's a skill you can download, and then you can just ask over and over and over again against all my course material, and the AI never gets tired. I get tired. Yes. I need rest and time off, but the AI never gets tired. And so I think there's enormous upside to learning how great work gets created, and it's more accessible to more people than ever before. And these things are creating like PowerPoint slides from scratch now. It's all just code.
Yeah.
And it's made me realize that a lot of this stuff, like I used to pride myself on moving boxes around and aligning it and getting the fonts right. Why? That's not valuable work. The value is in the thinking and the processing of information and actually implementing it, right? And so it'll be really interesting. I think the big firms are in a really good position. McKinsey has enormous amounts of internal knowledge artifacts. Like I used to like write these knowledge artifacts. Like you would document your case and publish stuff to the internal platform. So they have so much training internally that's very unique. So I think they'll be at a really interesting advantage, at least in the short term. But a lot of junior level work could decrease, I think. I don't know. It's crazy times.
Yeah. So can we say that we have to upgrade our brain or upgrade our knowledge, because we have to do some critical thinking. We have to question AI. We have to lead AI. We have to tell them what to do. So we have to upgrade. Otherwise, we don't know what to do.
I don't know if it's upgrading. I don't know if I can upgrade. I'm 41. I don't know how much more upgrading I have left in me. But I think it's different. I think we're thinking different. With new technology, you create new kinds of work.
Yeah.
And so stuff that people used to get hired for. Okay. For example, meeting notes. A lot of people in our generation used to take meeting notes. No one takes meeting notes anymore. No one's like, oh, we should bring that back. No one's like, no, everyone's happy. Like, that's perfect. And so a lot more stuff will become like that. And so with a lot of work disappearing or becoming like free to do, we'll create new kinds of work to do. And will there be enough? I don't know. Like, these models could just get so good that it does so much stuff. And so I don't know if you ever follow Tyler Cowen.
The scientist.
He's an economist, but he writes a lot about this stuff. And like his personal approach is like just doing a lot more in-person events, a lot more like individual stuff. And so that's what I'm thinking a lot about too, is like, what are the unique things I'm good at? How can I create more custom community, write unique points of view, things like that?
Wow. I think one thing the AI is not good for is to make decision, because we human, we are
ultimately a human.
We're responsible for decision. AI will be not responsible for that. So how can we make better decision? And I think that this is a key point in your course. So I want you to explain to us how to make good decision and how can we learn how to make decision.
Yeah, so there's the upside and the downside. I think one of the downsides of technology and more information is that people just spend more time gathering information than making the decision. I think the upside is a lot of the grunt work is going away. And so it's forcing people to realize, okay, we can actually make decisions faster. And so making decisions faster is sort of like what I was talking about with experimentation. And how I approach my life is very much the same thing. It's how can I make more decisions faster? Because the more decisions and experiments I run, the more I learn and the faster I can reorient. A lot of consulting exists because a lot of like insecure grown men and executives like don't want to make decisions.
They hire like, consultant to make decision.
It's like remarkable. I'd work on these projects for these like grown adults, or like they're just spending months hiring people and creating reports. It's like, just make the decision.
Because I think uncertainty, or maybe they're insecure inside.
Yeah, it's hard. And so I think the way I teach consulting is that everything is a problem. And by everything is a problem, I mean everything is an opportunity for improvement. So you could be doing a report. And the problem is you need insight into how the business is performing. And so the opportunity is to become slightly more confident about the understanding of the business. Or you're trying to lead a major change program over several months and you want to know the best way to do it. The purpose of gathering information and synthesizing it is to raise your confidence level. The mistake is thinking you can ever get to 100% confidence. There are no perfect decisions. Every decision in life has risk. There's just entropy in the universe, and there's a certain amount of chaos that you need to learn to embrace. And so you want to synthesize information and learn how to do that so you can quickly increase your confidence level on the decisions you are making. Right? You might go from 50% confident about something to, okay, I'm 80% confident. There's still some chance I'm wrong, but wow, this is very convincing. I really believe what this is telling us, and this fits with our understanding of where we're headed.
Wow, I like that. Confidence level to increase that, but not aim for 100% because it's impossible.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, for you, like starting a community or starting a podcast, it's ultimately a bet. And you might do research by, let's look at what other people have done. Okay, I see 5 other people with communities. They're actually making money and the people in the community love it. That's really good information that raises my confidence level. Then you might look at like course platforms and say, okay, or community platforms and say, I can charge money. This works. This works. And then you would synthesize those and you would say, this is financially possible given the tech stack, and there is demand for this kind of thing, and it's already worked with other people. Therefore, I like this and it's interesting to me. I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
It could fail. But you've done sort of the basic synthesis and research to say this is an interesting experiment worth doing.
Wow, I like that. Because of my final question, I want to go to the very beginning, because oftentimes we ask wrong question, or we ask bad question, or we are dealing with the wrong question. In consultant world, how do you define, is this a good question or not? Or is this a good problem or not?
I think that's the wrong I think that's the wrong question.
Yeah. Please. I want to. Yeah.
I think it's solved by just asking many more questions.
Okay.
And so curiosity has to be your driver. The biggest advantage to working in something like consulting is if you're actually curious about business and the companies you're working for and the industry you're working for and the people you're working for, because you'll just want to know more. And 2 things, asking more and more questions, going deeper, thinking deeper, learning more, reading on your own time about these things, combined with, once you've compiled information, actually iterating on that many more times. Many people in jobs, I call it the digital default. They download information from the internet, they copy paste it to a PowerPoint slide, and they send it to their manager. Nothing has been done there. In consulting, we would send it back and forth in our team like 50 times. And you're getting that real feedback, that iteration. And over time, the right questions emerge. So you're asking questions at the beginning that are really dumb and really high level. Then you do research, you realize, oh, this is interesting, but also we should refine the question, and then back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
I think it's a very good point, because in traditional world, maybe we try to find one good question, or we try to get it directly. But as you mentioned, we have to have the curiosity just lead us to ask so many questions and converge later, and don't be too rushed from a point. Wow, that's a very good take.
It's just being interested, right? You're interviewing people for your podcast, and you're usually interested in them. That makes it a lot easier.
So I'm just using podcast as my like own chat, own curiosity machine. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you so much, Paul. So this Pathless Path and your online course, already we can have this like buy link in the description. So our audience, if you want to buy the book, if you want to buy the online course, you can go to the description and every information is there. So thank you very much, Paul. Do you have any words to our Taiwan audience?
I really appreciate your curiosity. I love what you're doing. It's so cool to see so many more creators doing the kind of work you're doing and bringing people together. I think it's amazing.
Thank you so much. Yeah. OK， 那我们今天的访谈就到这边告一个段落。如果你喜欢的话，可以订阅下一本读什么。那也欢迎订阅我的免费电子报，我们每周都会分享好的这个读书心得跟好书金句。So Paul Miller, let's say goodbye to our audience. Yeah, bye bye.
再见。